Couple topics, man. It's super hot. Everybody's talking about what's going on with Lamar Jackson, man. He's just, we think he's being treated very unfairly, or at least a couple of us do. We're gonna see what everybody else thinks today. As I know, one of the panelists here believes that Lamar is being blackballed in this whole situation. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Don, why don't you start with this conversation, because you're the one that believes that Lamar is being blackballed right now. Why do you feel that way?
Well, I think it could be a little bit of collusion going on here with these owners, because I think one thing for sure that Lamar wants to get that guaranteed guaranteed contract, and I think the owners are just hell bent on not allowing it to happen this time, because they know if this precedence is set to where these guys starting to get guaranteed money over a period of 5 years at in the excess of $50 million per season. That's like a just imagine, in that fourth or fifth year you injured and you got to dish out $100 million. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the owner's going to allow that to happen. I think they all banding together and say, hey, look, Cleveland screwed up. They did something that they shouldn't have done in the first place. Now we got to fix it and make it right. So I think there's a little, because you notice how all these teams said they out of the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, right? That's crazy. How all those teams don't have no quarterback, MVP quarterbacks available, and all of a sudden they out of the sweepstakes. So that shortens that shortens the pool right there, because some teams already got their franchise quarterback. So that's my opinion, man. I think there's some kind of collusion going on, and something's not right. Something's not right.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The NFL probably out of all the professional sports leagues has won most of these battles with their personnel and with the players' union. They've time and time again been able to come out on top in most of these controversies or times where they've clashed with the union over salary caps, over revenues, and all those kinds of things. So it wouldn't, shock me or surprise me if there have been some phone calls made and folks are working together to keep the players from getting these guaranteed contracts. Having said that, I think there's a couple of things that I think if I were Lamar, I would have probably done differently in all of this. One, I'm not saying 100% sure if I would have gotten an agent, but I would at least have gotten a skilled negotiator, an attorney, or someone to work with to help me get through this whole contract piece. I know there's precedent that's already out there, and then his mom is engaged and involved in this process as well. Sometimes, people are worth the money that you might pay them in order to help you get to the bigger picture and the bigger deal. There might have been opportunities and ways for him earlier in this process to cut through some things had he had that skilled negotiator. So, that's probably something I would have done. But I also think that the way the NFL is currently set up, where there is still a hard salary cap, it's tough to give somebody a fully guaranteed contract at the $50 million level, because if he does get hurt, which a running quarterback, we talked about that many times. I know you guys always say, well, they really only get hurt in the pocket. It's not when they're running. Yeah, I don't know that I fully buy into that. because I played the running back position and we get hurt all the time. And a running quarterback has that same vulnerability. So if you get this guy 50 million guaranteed, no matter what, over a 5-year period, he goes out in year 2 and gets hurt, can't play, you're done. Your salary cap has been eaten up. And now you can't go out and replace that quarterback, put other pieces on your team and around that. So unless there's some other rules that are changed in the next collective bargaining agreement, because you can't do it now. The collective bargaining agreement that's in place is in place.
Mhm.
And the next agreement where you can exceed the salary cap in an instance like that, you have what you have. So I kind of understand from the NFL side, because there's a set hard salary cap, and there's a maximum that they can pay players under this structured system, that it would be hard to give someone a max contract fully guaranteed over $50 million. That would just, it could really upset the whole balance of your team if that guy does get hurt.
Mhm.
I agree
Chuck?
from the standpoint of what Baltimore is going through, as far as like they definitely need to restructure some things, and they don't want to pay all that money up front. I understand that, but quite frankly, man, they are like Don said, man, there's some collusion, definitely some collusion going on. And I guess as long as you're not sending emails, it's okay. So you can make a phone call here and
Yep.
there, and nobody is the wiser. But obviously, if those teams that are in the hunt for a quarterback would definitely be knocking on his door. I don't particularly, just from a football point of view, just being a coach, I don't particularly like that style of football where your quarterback is running so much and you're so dependent on him to run. And now that you've built in all these plays, I don't like it with him. I don't like it with the kid in Buffalo. It's just they just, there's too much of it. To me, you're putting your team and your quarterback at risk. And the NFL has that built-in excuse that Greg is talking about, that they can change that when they want to. That change
collectively bargain, Chuck. You got to go to the back to the table and restructure that.
Let's go back to the table.
Team.
But when they argue, when they go to the table, they always argue for that because that's a built-in, salary management technique that they have. So what they're doing is definitely making sure that they keep that as an excuse, and they get together and they don't want to pay people guaranteed contracts. Honestly, at this point, the next collective bargaining agreement should be, hey man, contracts are contracts, or stop calling them contracts. Just stop calling them contracts if they're not guaranteed. Like if there's a certain amount of money I'm going to work for, let's agree on it, let's sign, and let that be that. Then you could cut down the time on the contracts, and if you want to take the risk, it's signing somebody for a long period of time and keeping them out of the market, then you got to pay more money for it. That's just the way it is. But you can't continue to say that you have contracts. And
So
don't
are you advocating for wage scales all the way through, not just a rookie wage scale, but a wage scale kind of all the way through for all the players?
No,
for all tenures?
I don't agree on a wage scale. I think you pay market value. You pay market value, which is based on what people are willing to pay. Mm-hmm. And there are not that many teams. So as you can see, when people get to the point where they do not want to pay that much for a running quarterback, they're not going to do it. And $32 million seems, plus, whatever you have to give them in trade, seems to be too much, which I can understand. But I also believe there is collusion. I believe the system is broken. They need to revamp it, man. They need to go back like, hey, this is an open contract. What's on my, hey, if you drafted me and you draft me amongst all the other people, and you definitely have the ability to, hey, let's agree on the term. If the person's injured, then, hey, agree on the term that's comparable, that you get a certain percentage of whatever it is. But this whole, we're not honoring contracts, we're going to cut people when we want to, that was the thing in the past, that they would have these huge contracts and they'd only give the people the first 2 years of it, and then they would cut them and they'd never see the rest of it, but meanwhile, their whole entire family thinks they're a billionaire. You know,
Yeah.
so it's a twisted
So,
system.
guys, what do you guys think about how they're giving mediocre guys big, like Daniel Jones just got you 40 million a year, whatever it was, that some observant amount of money that he got. And then MVPs like Lamar Jackson, they're holding a hard stance with. Do do you think it's more of what Greg said of them punishing him for not having an agent?
Well, I'm not sure they're just punishing him for not having an agent. First, let's just clarify this. From my understanding, Lamar Jackson's not asking for Daniel Jones money. He's asking for more money than Daniel Jones.
Right.
And he's
Deshaun
asking for it to
Watson's
be
money.
fully guaranteed. Yeah, he's asking for it to be fully guaranteed, so that regardless of whether or not he gets hurt, Daniel Jones doesn't have a fully guaranteed. There's a large amount of money that is guaranteed.
Yeah.
I think the level in which Lamar Jackson is asking for is where you're going to need somebody. You know, you need a Scott Boras. Where's Scott Boras? Go find him. Ask him to negotiate on your behalf. But again, the rules for baseball are completely different. You know, football, baseball, basketball, the collective bargaining agreements are different. The length of career is different. The amount of money that's generated is different. So it's hard to compare across sports. I think the real problem that football has, and it's somewhat legit, Chuck, and I get what you're saying about, you know, if signing a contract is a contract. The real problem that football has is people get hurt all the time. And a lot of those injuries aren't necessarily ones, at least, you know, up until maybe recently, as surgeries and stuff are getting better, that guys, even if they came back from it, they were never quite the same. So it's hard to, you know, give someone that long contract in football and make it guaranteed. I think if you shorten the number of years, like you said, Chuck, keep them, you know, they're able to get back in the market in 2 years. So you just sign a 2-year deal for 60 million or whatever it is, and you fully guarantee it. And then 2 years from then, you're not stuck with them on your books. And teams don't want to have to do that every couple of years and have to re-sign all their guys. But it's tough because of the injury factor. It just that's different than baseball and basketball.
That's the nature of it. If you're trying to win, you're shaking the dice. It's a crapshoot. People get hurt in the game.
That's some shake. That's a real crapshoot, bro.
It is. And so what you're doing is you can't have it both ways, though. You can't say, "Oh, I want to lock this person down for umpty 9 years," but then I don't want to guarantee the money. So you want to have, you know, the benefit of having this long-term contract where you don't have any competition in salary, but you also want to have the benefit of not being able to honor it. And you can't have it both ways. Stop with the long-term contracts, pay these guys, let them be back on the free agent market like they should be. And let's keep it at that. Like, hey man, get this dude, you know. I don't think the fully what do you call that? The franchise tag is, you know, at the highest level is that bad of a deal. The lower one that he got hit with, I think is bad because of what Don said, because they could conclude not to act on it, you know, because somebody could easily steal them at that price. But it seems too high of a price, and I don't think they're willing to do it because, you know, quarterback salaries have gotten out of hand.
Yeah, but they can match it. Like if another team's, you know, if another team wants to sign them, you know, like for 48 million, they can match. They still have the rights to match that deal. You know, so it's not like, you know, a team
they can match it or take
snatch them away. Baltimore's still going to have.
It's beneficial for them.
What's that?
It's definitely beneficial. I said it's definitely beneficial on their behalf. You know, sign them at that lower figure, but you know, the thing is that for people to sign them at that, the compensation is high. I forget how many draft picks it is. I know it's
two draft picks, 2 first-round draft picks.
2 first-round draft picks that's high compensation. You know, so you know that's a tough road to hoe. You know, it's. I think everything is set up for their benefit, and it's also a hard place to negotiate from when you may see yourself one way, but they don't see you that way. You are still not seen as a prototypical drop back passing quarterback. and he has to live with that. And you're taking a risk, but it is what it is.
Yeah, they're basically saying, from what I understand, is Baltimore told Lamar, "Hey, look, it's been 2 years. We've been trying to get this done. Let's go ahead and let you go out into the market and see what the market says you're supposed to get, and then we'll decide if we want to match it from there." That, that sounds fair, but I think that the biggest issue is the collusion part, and if they're colluding to not to not give him what he's asking for, is wrong.
Yeah,
I believe that's
I just think it's going to be tough to prove that one.
Can't prove it. Yeah.
What's that?
I don't think you can prove it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It'll be tough to prove it, and and if 5 years from now, a bunch of emails leaked from the Washington Redskins email things saying that they did collude and that John Gruden was a part of it, we'll have to backtrack on what we're saying. But I think, some of the things that led up to this were the whole no agent thing, him being a running quarterback, the potential of being injured. And then, I think Chuck said last time we were talking, Lamar still has something to prove, I guess, long term as a quarterback in the NFL, especially the way people like to see the quarterback, position play. We're used to athletic running quarterbacks now. We're used to guys who can, be dynamic and exciting in the passing game, as well as the running game. We've seen that going all the way back to Randall Cunningham. I remember when we played the Philadelphia Eagles and I was with the Broncos, we were scared to death of him. But, guys would always say, but all we got to do is hit him, get him hurt, get him out the game. He'll stop running or whatever. And I think right now, those guys who still are athletic, run and do all that kind of stuff still have to perfect the passing part of the game and team. And here's what I think happens a lot with people like, what I've noticed is all the really good running quarterbacks, their best receiver is always a tight end for some reason. They never have a great dynamic receiver on the outside to go with them. They're always best receivers at tight end. So maybe if we get one of these guys with some great wide receivers, or Randy Moss or Jerry Rice or somebody like that on the outside, then you really truly have a dual threat. Because I think a lot of these dual threat quarterbacks aren't always a full dual threat because they don't have a lot of threats on the outside at the wide receiver position. And if Lamar had that over the last couple of years, we might be looking at this different. He'd thrown for 10,000 more yards, and they'd probably be willing to give him whatever they can give him.
Look at the Eagles quarterback.
They connected. Yeah.
I think the Eagles.
I mean, all the good quarterbacks, all the good quarterbacks, the great quarterbacks have some ability to move in this day, in the new day and age. Fellas,
but can I say one thing before you go there, Troy? Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Let's admit there's a difference between an athletic mobile quarterback and a running quarterback. Those are two different things.
Explain that.
Well, they're athletic mobile quarterbacks that can escape, that can get outside the pocket, throw the ball down the field, run when they have to. And then there's Lamar, who they're building plays to run him quite a bit. They want Lamar to rush for 75, 80 yards a game. In my opinion, that's what it looks like to me. They want him to be dynamic down the field, running the football, and not just being an athletic quarterback. And it's growing. There's more and more of that coming. But I think Lamar right now is one of the guys. You mentioned the kid Josh Allen up in Buffalo. It looked like Jalen Hurts. They more around the goal line and on third and shorts and stuff like that. They like to use him like that a lot. But Lamar Jackson is a built-in part of their running game. And I felt like, what they were doing up in Chicago, Jalen Hurts, could be that type of guy. I think right now,
you mean Justin Fields?
Justin Fields, I'm sorry. He's running for his life because, his offensive line isn't that great. But, he's running like a running back too. When you see guys running like a running back, that's different. That's different than a mobile quarterback.
I think it's a luxury. I just do not think it's necessary. Like, we're one Super Bowl away from a stable statue pocket passer in Matthew Stafford. We're just one Super Bowl away from that. So I don't think it's necessary. To me, risk versus reward, I don't know how much of that is worth it. Josh Allen, I don't like what he does. I know his size helps, but eventually, guess what? Cam Newton won MVP too and took a bruising, and it
Josh
took a
Allen is
toll on
Cam
his
Newton
career.
part 2.
That's kind of what it is, and I don't think that that's necessary. I don't think the risk versus reward is there for the payoff. I just think like, I mean, you got to get this guy to stand there and throw the ball. Escape is what you need to do. You know,
Yeah,
you need
mobile quarterback,
to escape,
athletic mobile quarterback, not a running
you know,
quarterback.
So with
and,
this, so
and
with this conversation,
check hots, man. What happened to checking to your hots?
yeah, exactly.
Check throwing it to the running back, throwing it to the check downs. What happened to that? Like you can still avoid. You don't need to be
Man, ain't
scrambling
no
around
running
with
backs in the
stuff
league
like
no more. That position's
huh?
gone.
There's a few.
Right.
There's
That's the whole.
Bijan Robinson may have something to say about that. Coming in. Well, fellas, man, that was an absolutely awesome conversation. I know there's going to be a lot of folks that's going to have a lot to say about that. Please comment. Tell us what you think. You know, tell us how you feel. You know, if you agree with us, tell us that. If you think we're assholes, tell us that too. We want to hear what you have to say. Please like, subscribe, and make sure you check us out next time. For myself and for the big dogs, have a good week. Peace.